We've made it to part 3 of the Find the Win series, Mike. Been a fun series so far. In this one, we're going to go over Missouri, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. Some surprising Vegas odds on these. Let's break it down, man. Yeah, it's going to be fun, dude. So there ain't really anything to do but just dive right into it, man. With Missouri, um, I didn't really look it up last season. I don't know exactly what Missouri did last season. I know that they didn't really have that great of a season. I mean, especially coming off of some of the seasons that they had in more recent years where they did have some pretty successful seasons. But you and I have talked about Missouri on this podcast before, Mike. It just seems like it's one of those teams that you never really know. You know, they could beat you.
Yeah.
And it sounds ridiculous and crazy to say, but they could either show up at your place and beat you or give you a tough game at home, or you could just obliterate them. It doesn't really seem like there's an in-between when it comes to Missouri.
Yeah, man, I feel like you said they kind of fell off a little bit from a couple seasons they had previously, but they're still kind of that. I feel like a middle row SEC team. To where they're a dangerous team because like you said, it could go either way. They definitely have the capabilities of beating some people, so it's not a team you can look at and be like that's the lot team on the schedule or anything.
Right.
But it's like you said, I don't. It's tough predicting how they're going to do because they're also not. They're just kind of that middle row. I feel like, personally.
Yep. And I did look it up real quick, Mike, just because I was really curious. 8-5 last season, so
okay, so pretty good.
So yeah, winning record, better than some teams in the SEC. So you kind of take last season into consideration and look at what Vegas has given them for this season going into it, Mike. You're looking at a 6.5 win total, and Vegas is leaning on that over. So if you all have been following this series so far, you know that Mike and I are just rounding up to that 7-win total, taking the over on 6.5. So, Mike, I don't know if you want to kind of go down through this one first and kind of let us know what you're thinking on it, but we're going to try to find 7 wins on Missouri's schedule here. So we'll see if it's possible.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it, man. I will say with them, at least right off the rip, man, you got, I'm going to assume this AR Pine Bluff stands for maybe Arkansas, maybe somewhere down there.
It is. It is.
To be fair, man, there's not, being a huge college football fan, there's not too many teams that I just never really seen. I don't have a clue, man, who these guys are. I assumed based off the AR they were in Arkansas, so that tells you all you need to know there. No disrespect to them, I really did not know who that was.
I mean, Mike, it could be a high school team for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, maybe I'm wrong, but we're going to count that one as the win there for me, man. Again, like I said, it just kind of cracked me up because it's rare. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we know every single school, but usually you at least kind of have heard of the team. I really legit don't have a clue, man.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. So that's a win right off. It looks like they're starting their season off, kind of easing into it. Now, I will say, looking at, I'm trying to make sure to get the 7 wins here for them. I don't think this is necessarily means it could be as easy as you would have thought in the past, but playing at Kansas in that second game could be a dangerous game for them. I'm going to go ahead and give Missouri that win, though, just because Kansas, I feel like they had some success there out of nowhere. And beforehand, this would have been a guarantee, I feel like, beforehand, but last year wasn't the greatest for them, so I'm still going to feel kind of comfortable picking Missouri on that one. So I'm going to say with Kansas there in the second game. I think they're going to beat Troy in the third game. It's at Missouri. Feel confident about that.
Yep.
Then they got Mississippi State. So I'm going to go ahead and predict Missouri to go 4-0 right here at the start of the season because I think they're going to beat Mississippi State. I feel like Missouri's just a better football team. I know it's at Mississippi State, but I think they'll be kind of at that bottom of the SEC a little bit. I
Yep.
think Missouri's going to take that one. Um, let's see. And then they got a game. It is away again, but it's at Arkansas. Arkansas is kind of the same, man. In fact, I might think Arkansas will be one of the worst teams in the SEC this year. So I think Missouri's going to get that one. So that's going to give me a fifth win there. Let's see, and I might have to bounce around a little because I have looked over this, but I'm
Yeah.
also really. Um, and then Kentucky goes and plays at Missouri later in the season. That was one I had, right? So
Yep.
I've got that one, or in my head when I was looking over this earlier, that was one I had. I've got Kentucky there as a 6 win. Now I wasn't sure earlier if it was the over or under. I think we talked kind of before this started.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest, man, that was the six that I felt like was pretty comfortable with.
Uh-huh.
Um, my seventh win to give them a 7. Um, it really depends on how this team does, and maybe it's the history of this team that's not. Even though last year was atrocious, Florida is a team though with the history of Florida. It kind of makes you give them still respect almost.
Yeah.
But they're playing at Missouri, so I'm going to take Florida as that 7th win for Missouri there. If I had to pick 7 wins out of this schedule to
Yeah.
match that Vegas odds, those are the 7 I'm going with. And
Yep.
again, that's Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kansas, Troy, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, and Kentucky for 7 wins.
Gotcha. Yeah. Mike, I'll be honest with you, man. I was looking at this thing and I felt like it was much easier to find 6.5 taking the under on this one because
Yeah,
finding I think finding 4 wins is very, very easy. I think even
yeah,
5 wins is very easy, potentially. But when you start
yeah,
creeping into that 6 win and that 7 win, man, where do they come from?
yeah,
So Arkansas, Pine Bluff, the high school team that they're going to be playing this season, that's a W. um, no disrespect. Um, Kansas obviously don't. I think you're right about Kansas, even though it's on the road. We're going to give them a W there. Troy, instant W. Um, Mississippi State, terrible, terrible, terrible team last season. I don't think that the ceiling is much higher this season than it was last season.
yeah,
So I'm with you there. Starting out 4-0 off the rip. Um, and Missouri is a tough team. They typically do have a really good defense and things like that. So I can see 4 wins very easily. Mike, I'm going to be honest with you here. Outside of maybe one other win, I find it very, very difficult to find 7. I'm going to have to agree with you on the Kentucky win as well. Um, Out of the SEC slate that's left on this schedule, I think it's only right to go ahead and pick Arkansas like you did. And that's where I'm stumped because I don't really see. I just I'm gonna have to go with Florida like you did, man. But I don't feel comfortable about it whatsoever. I just want to put that out there. I don't
yeah.
feel comfortable about it. I think we're going to see a different Florida team this year under a different regime, different head coach, things of that nature. But for the sake of the pod and for the sake of this series, if we have to find those 7 wins, Mike, I think you're dead on the money with this one, dude. I think that is literally because I mean, what's left on the schedule other than those 7 games? You got Texas A&M, Ole Miss at Ole Miss, by the way,
Yeah,
Texas at Georgia, Oklahoma. I mean,
yeah.
those are very, very, very tough wins to
And
get.
and that's why I went with Florida, and I think it's probably why you did too. Florida is
Yeah,
a home game, so that's a check mark for something positive you're looking for when you're trying to pick a complicated win. And
right.
again, man, even though I'm like you, I think Florida is going to have a little bit of bounce back. But right now, if I'm basing this off of Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Texas, those are also home games. But I think those
Right,
3 teams are better. And then you're gonna at
right.
Georgia and at Ole Miss. I don't see. I would pick Florida over those other teams, and that's what
Yep,
I actually felt pretty confident about 6 games, personally.
yep,
But
yep,
the 7th one was a little more difficult. But I went with
yep.
Florida out of those that were remaining because I just think that's the obvious answer right now.
Yep.
Florida fans will tell us different, and I know some people that will, but just basing off of what I see there, I've got to go with that
Yep.
at this point. If I'm picking those 7 wins.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you there. And people, we do apologize if it just seems like we're bouncing back and forth and agreeing with what the other one's saying. But I mean, when
It,
you're doing what we're doing on this series, it's about all you can do, to be honest
yeah,
with you.
yeah, and some of these are going to be the obvious when we're doing this.
Right.
We're going to agree on a lot of these because you're going to pick those easy ones first. Um,
Yep.
and so, but that one, I think when you break that down, that it I don't feel like it was hard to pick, except for like you that said the seventh one. But then when
Yep.
you look at that, I still don't think it was hard to pick out of those that were left. Maybe
That's fair.
I couldn't confidently pick that seventh one as Florida, and say that Florida is going to get beat by Missouri later in the season. Or even at the beginning of the season, we probably would pick Florida to
Yeah.
win that game. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I think when you look at the teams that are left, and we're trying to get 7 wins. I
Yeah.
don't think that one was honestly as bad, and that was the easiest one I think out of these four for me
Yeah.
when I was looking over them.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And one other thing that I'll note, and then we'll move on real quick. We're also not including or showing just how tight some of these over unders are. I mean, you're talking about
Yeah,
like minus 115 plus
yeah,
120 or something like that. I mean, the over unders on a lot of these teams,
yeah,
Mike, if you look at it, are very, very, very close. So even
yeah,
Vegas, I mean, obviously it's so
yeah,
early to make these types of predictions, but even Vegas
mhm,
is on the fence on some of these over
yeah.
unders.
I mean, last week we had one that was dead even, and we just had to pick.
Right,
So
right, right.
yeah,
So, but let's move on to another team here, Mike, in Oklahoma. Now we're talking about a team that is coming off a pretty successful season last year. They went 10-2 in the regular season.
yeah,
Um, I will like to note that this is one team out of the group that we're talking about tonight that does have a returning veteran quarterback in John Mateer. Guy was sidelined last year for a lot of the season, if you remember, due to injury. So didn't really get to see him play all that much, but he's back.
mhm,
Oklahoma is obviously excited about that. And Mike, we're looking at a 7.5 win total prediction for Oklahoma this season, and we're taking the over on it with Vegas here. So we're
yeah,
looking for 8 wins. Um, and I'll just roll off on this one real quick, Mike.
yeah,
We'll just bounce back and forth like that. So no surprise there. Most of these teams, if not all these teams, do start out with what we like to call in this podcast cupcake teams. UTEP comes to town, and that's a W.
yeah,
Um, Going to skip around here a little bit, Mike. You got New Mexico on September 19th. That's a W. We're going to go Kentucky down in October. That's a W. Mississippi State, we'll call that a W. Uh, that's 4. South Carolina, we'll go ahead and call that a W. That's 5. We'll go ahead and give them the win over Missouri, even though it is at Missouri.
yeah.
But we are talking about Oklahoma here. So I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Need to find 2 more wins. Of course, Oklahoma knock off? I know this is getting a little sidetracked here, Mike. I think Oklahoma beat Texas in the Red River rivalry there last year. Did they not?
I believe so. I
Yeah,
believe. Well,
pretty
now I'm
sure they
second
did.
guessing it, but
I'll look it up real quick.
no.
2025.
I think Texas won that game. I think Mateer came back maybe too early from injury, and I believe Texas might have took that game.
You're right. Texas beat them.
Mhm.
Could it be a revenge game? Who knows? But I don't feel confident about that one. I guess. I guess realistically, Mike, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. If I
Mhm.
truly had to pick 2 more wins out of this group, Mike, I would have to give it to. Let's go, Ole Miss.
Okay.
And this is going to be a shocker here, Mike. I'm gonna shake things up here, and I'm looking at home and aways to make this decision. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Texas A&M.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Texas A&M. So let me rattle these eight
Yeah.
off, and then you can go here. Got
Yeah.
UTEP, New Mexico, Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Missouri.
All right. So
Shake it up a
yeah,
bit.
yeah, and this one is kind of difficult, man. You've got some, not that I don't think Oklahoma's capable. I do think Oklahoma's going to be a pretty tough team again. Returning quarterback, it's a veteran quarterback there for them, and I do think they're going to be a good team. Had a good season last year, and I truly do. It's just they got some tough opponents,
Yeah.
and whether these are away games or home games does affect some things. So starting off, obviously, I got UTEP. Based on how they were last year, man, I'm actually going to take Oklahoma beating Michigan at Michigan.
Very
Um,
nice.
I think that just kind of based on how Michigan was last year, I think Oklahoma's the better team. I know it's at Michigan early in the season. Obviously, could go either way. It's not saying, but if I'm picking out of these teams I'm seeing them play, that's someone I think I'm going to give that win to. New Mexico
I'll,
is an obvious. That's two obvious ones right there with UTEP and New Mexico. So, UTEP, Michigan, New Mexico, Kentucky at Oklahoma. That's an obvious. We'll give it to a win there. Oklahoma going to Mississippi State. Yeah, it's you get I'm sure there'll be some Kentucky fans who would think differently until they're about midway through the season. But and then that's when they're ready for basketball season. But let's moving on. But Oklahoma's gonna, I think, beat Mississippi State even at Mississippi State. I don't think that'll
gotcha.
matter there being an away game. South Carolina, like you said there, it's a home game for Oklahoma. I'm gonna give Oklahoma that game if I'm predicting wins. Um, I'm gonna skip for just a second, but I agree with you here with Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is gonna be an at Oklahoma. That's one I would give them um, there. Not an easy one at all. Not super confident in that, but I'm trying to get 8 wins here.
Right.
Um, and then Oklahoma at Missouri. I think even though it's at Missouri, I agree. I think they're the better team. I'm gonna give that to them. And I'm actually gonna hmm, I mean, you make a good point with the A&M game at Oklahoma. I am going to revert back to a little bit of how Florida was last year, though, and I'm going to give the edge to
Gotcha.
Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's a really good football team. Um,
Yep.
they got a tough defense. That could be, I mean, that's late in the season, so that might, at that point,
Yep.
those two teams will be who they are. So, but
Right.
at Florida does make it more difficult, but I'm going to give that one to Oklahoma. So I got
Gotcha.
UTEP, Michigan, New Mexico, um, Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Florida, Ole Miss, and Missouri. Was that add up right? I think
Yeah.
it was there. Yeah.
Let me count. One,
Eight.
two, three, four, five, six. Yep, you're right,
Yeah. So
dude.
8 wins
I'll be
there.
honest. I'll be honest with you, man. I love that Michigan take. I really do.
Okay.
That's good. I stayed away from it simply because it's
Yeah.
at Michigan.
Yeah. I
That's
understand that. Yeah.
not saying Michigan's the end all be all. Obviously, they're not.
Yeah.
Um, just kind of give that edge. It is cool that Oklahoma will be going back and playing a former conference team, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. But
For sure.
anyway, yeah. I mean, Mike, when the teams are this good, man. I mean, especially coming off the season that they had last year, when the teams are this good, it really is difficult because you don't really know unless you're just immersed in that fan base or follow that team directly. You don't really know
Yeah.
what they got returning. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we
Absolutely.
know they kept their head coach and they've got their same quarterback, but what else do they got? You know what I mean? And that's a big question mark
Yeah.
for us. Um, but finding 8 wins really on that schedule wasn't as hard as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you throw in your toss ups in there to make it be 8 wins, but it wasn't
Yeah.
as difficult as I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you, um,
Yeah. I do like there's a little bit of mix up with what we got there, though. We're a little different on what we
Yep.
got, and so I think that alone shows it's a little more difficult than the first one. I think the
Yep.
first one was more set in stone, where that one's got a little bit more argument wise. Not that it's,
Yep.
I definitely could see Oklahoma winning 8 games,
Right.
but it's not going to be easy 8 games, all of them. So that
Yeah.
I definitely
And
could
it
see
could
that happen. But
and it could come in a variety of ways. I mean,
yeah,
um, you know what I'm saying? So we'll just
absolutely.
have to see how that plays out. I mean, could they sneak revenge against Texas? Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, at Georgia's too tough. At Georgia's just way too tough.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I
Not
think
saying
we're
they
pretty spot on.
couldn't beat Georgia, but if we're predicting I'm not going to predict any other team in the SEC at Georgia as a win that I feel confident to throw out there for the Vegas win. That's just, I'm not saying Georgia won't lose at home this year, but there's just nobody I'm going to predict that for, and be
Right.
like, yeah, I'll confidently pick this win out of the 8 that I have to get. So,
Yeah, I feel you there, man. I was trying to figure this out. Okay. Just had to get one stat line there pulled up. All right, man. So that brings us into another team that had another successful season last year.
yeah,
And that's Ole Miss. I mean, what an absolutely incredible season last year.
yeah,
Obviously, the whole debacle with Lane Kiffin and all that, but I mean, the man led them through the entire regular season, and they went 11-1.
yeah,
I don't think that anyone predicted that. You would have lost money at the beginning of the year. Uh,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, it happened. You would have won
right,
money, but what I'm saying is, not many people, if anyone, predicted that to happen. So,
right,
kudos to that team. Kudos to that coaching staff. Although that entire situation has been blown up now,
yeah,
um, two constants do remain. Though you've got Pete Golding, who's there at Ole
yeah,
Miss now. You know, he was there with Lane. He took over, led him through the playoffs. Blah blah blah. And then you've got Trinidad Chambliss, who I don't think very many people thought would stay in Ole Miss
yeah,
after everything happened, but here he is. He's coming back.
yeah,
Dude had some of the most insane playoff performances that I think college football's ever seen. I don't think that's an
yeah.
overstatement. Do you?
No, man. I mean, I know we were texting in some of those games last year, just
Could not
wild about
believe
it.
it.
Yeah, and I think, I was a little bit more. I'm gonna say high on Ole Miss, but I think I was, I almost felt like I was a little bit more. I was shocked by how they did, but I think I
Right.
almost was more optimistic for them than you were, even
Yep.
on that. And so I'm
That's
curious to
fair.
see how we predict these because I don't know. Maybe that was just last year. Maybe I'm a little bit. I lean a little better with Ole Miss. I don't know. Um, but that makes it interesting, of course.
It does.
Yeah, I think having the quarterback back is obviously huge.
Oh, yeah.
That factors in a lot of what Vegas is picking with the 7.5 going the over on it as well. So that's 8 wins. Um, and I
It's
think a lot of that
huge.
is that. It's huge. And I think that you talking about Pete Golden. I think him coaching how he did in the playoffs on the biggest stage gave confidence to them and him as well.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I feel like the players will have confidence in him next year. And you know, so that going through this, we'll see who I pick here. But I can see why Vegas I think has went with that with an 8 wins. Um,
Yep.
right off the rip, Louisville's playing at Ole Miss. I've got them winning that one. And then they got Charlotte at Ole Miss. Charlotte, even easier game right there. I've got them easily winning that. So
Yep.
that's 2-0 right off the rip. Let's see. Getting into, I'm gonna get 8 wins here out of this team. I might skip around a little bit on this, but I've got Vanderbilt. Even though it's at Vanderbilt, is a third win for them. I think Missouri playing at Ole Miss. I'm gonna give that to Ole Miss. Um, Auburn playing at Ole Miss. I'm actually going to give that to Ole Miss as well. So that's 5. Let's see. End of the year too with 2 wins there to end it out with Wofford playing at Ole Miss and then Mississippi State playing at Ole Miss. So that right there, 6 of them. Now I got to get 2 more um, on this. This is where it gets a little interesting. And it
Oh yeah,
seems like I'm hating on Florida here, but even though it's at Florida, man, I just think the same as Oklahoma. I think that's the better team, based off last year and kind of going into this year, who I feel is going to be the better. Um,
gotcha.
Again, Ole Miss has a returning quarterback, man. Um, Even though it's like a new coach for the whole year, he has still coached them in the biggest stage in the playoffs. So
100%.
we know he can do it. So I'm going to go with Florida there for my seventh one. And
Okay.
this is where it gets tricky because I'm like, all right, I got to pick an eighth win. And their remaining schedule here is LSU, Texas, Georgia, and you got Oklahoma, right, for their remaining ones.
Yep.
Problem is, you got at Oklahoma, you got at Texas. I don't know that I could confidently um, pick Ole Miss on those two road games if I'm trying to pick
Right.
8 wins.
Right.
Also, Georgia being Georgia, Kirby Smart, that's tough, right?
Yep.
And you got LSU, who we think is gonna be tough this year. That's not so. None of those are easy games to pick um,
Right.
on those. And am I missing one? I feel like start looking at these schedules, man. It gets tough to
Uh, the only one that I haven't, unless you picked them as a W, the only one I haven't heard you mention is Missouri.
Missouri. I think I did, but so Louisville, Charlotte, Florida, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Auburn, Wolford, and Mississippi State.
So that's your 8 wins right
That's
there.
eight. That's eight.
Yep.
Never mind.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm good. I'm sitting here talking about the four that would be super difficult, and I missed over. I missed over. I think maybe Missouri there, but somewhere I miscounted. So I got my 8 wins. So that
Yep.
actually was easier than I thought it was going to be because I did not want to pick. I didn't want to pick between LSU and Georgia being home games, and then at Oklahoma and at Texas. I just
Right.
don't know. Those are four games that'd be hard to pick. Um,
Yeah.
so I thought I was gonna have to pick between that. That'd have been real interesting. We'll go let you go over yours. Maybe I would. Maybe then I could pick if they were gonna win one of those. Who would it be? But yeah, that's my eight then, man.
Yeah.
When I look at it, I think that's might be a pretty obvious eight. Unless you got something different to throw at me, you might. So let's see
Well,
what you got.
I mean, I know for at least 5 or 6 of them, I think that they're surefire wins. To be honest with you, I don't even really think that there's much of a contest. I do want to make two statements here before I dive into this, Mike.
Yeah.
Um, as a football fan and as a fan of everything that comes with college football and the storylines and the coaches and everything, September 19th versus LSU at home is going to be
Yeah.
absolute cinema.
Yeah.
Anyone that loves college football, whether you hate Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin, whatever the case is, that is going to be must see TV on September 19th. I cannot wait to watch that game. And I'm a Tennessee fan, and I don't care for either one of those teams. But
Yeah.
I tell you right now, you're not going to want to miss that one because it's going to be epic.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
just had to throw that out there. Secondly, when I think of Ole Miss and I think of Trinidad Chambliss and what you and I were talking about with what he did last season and what he did in those playoffs in particular, man, the only thing that comes to my mind is what are these defenses going to do to stop this guy? I mean, what are
Yeah.
they going to do to try to contain him? What kind of
Mhm.
defenses are these teams going to put on the board? So realistically, regardless of what Ole Miss's defense looks like or their team as a whole looks like, we know what their quarterback looks like. We know that
Yeah.
even if he doesn't have a great offensive line or a banged up offensive line, that guy's still going to make plays. So
Yeah.
I take that into consideration when I pick these teams, Mike, especially sitting on the fence with that eighth one. I'm just going to roll down through here real quick, Mike. I agree with you on pretty much all of this stuff here. You've got Louisville, W, Charlotte, W, Vanderbilt, W, Missouri, W, Auburn at home, W, Wofford, W, Mississippi State. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm in the same boat as you were. That's my
Yeah.
7 wins. And I'm looking at everything else, Mike, and I'm making this decision based on what type of defenses are these teams going to have. We know Georgia's going to have a dominant defense. We know Texas is probably going to have a dominant defense.
Yeah.
On paper, we haven't seen it in person. but we know Lane Kiffin has dipped into the portal, and we know LSU on paper right now probably has a dominant defense. So that
Yeah.
really just leaves us with Oklahoma and Florida. And man, you can't really stray from what you said. I mean, I don't think you can stray away from it being the obvious choice in Florida.
Yeah.
If you know, I mean, if Oklahoma and Florida played, who's gonna win that game? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you're when you're finding these 8 wins, people, we can't say this enough, but you might be picking on a team or bullying a team or whatever the case is, but in this situation, Mike, you're right. I know I dramatized that and stretched it
Yeah.
out there, but
No, man.
just giving context where context is due, because it's just you have to kind of go that route. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think we're too high on Florida this year. I mean, could they be better than last year? Of course they could. They don't have much of a choice but to be. But
Yeah. Right. And I think, and also something to add, I mean, they're also going to be playing Florida kind of early in the year. Does Florida,
right,
with a new coach, with new quarterback, with
right,
new that,
right,
maybe there might be a little bit of growing pains still going on in that early part of the
right,
season too.
right.
Something else maybe to think about, whereas Oklahoma's later in the year and um,
Yep,
might get, I just think I would just imagine at Oklahoma is a tougher game to play right now in college football than at Florida
yep.
at this
Agreed,
moment.
agreed.
I don't think that's where you kind of came up with it too, and just that's why we're alike on this one. Yeah, but yeah, like you said, just not also going back, that Ole Miss LSU game is going to be something. I personally, and we may differ on this. If you ask me, who I'm pulling for that game, obviously I just want a great game. Neither one of those teams are just teams that I'm just crazy about or anything. But I also don't really hate either one of those teams either. Does that
Right.
make sense? Like it's not
Yeah.
they're very neutral teams to me. Um, but I would probably pick a light blue shirt that day if I was having to pick somebody.
Yeah.
Just because it would be kind of
Yeah.
hilarious in my opinion if Lane
Well,
Kiffin went back there and lost.
it would be sweet. You know, the fact that Lane Kiffin has to go back on the road and play his
Hmm.
former team, and the way he
Yeah,
kind of left was a little distasteful. I mean, he's got
yeah,
a track record of doing that.
yeah.
Um,
And
so
maybe as a
I
Tennessee
definitely.
fan, I'm still holding a little bit of a grudge, but
Well, I mean, yeah, you're probably
uh,
right, but think about that situation for any coach in any team, no matter
yeah,
what it is. You know, you bounce on your team and then
yeah,
you play them in your old stadium the very next year. Would it not be sweet to see the
it
old
would.
team just show you like, this is what you left, man? Why'd you leave us?
Yeah.
We're gonna whip you. You know what I mean? So
It's kind of like pulling, not really the underdog story, but I don't
right,
know. I guess you feel like you're pulling for the good in that one. Like
right,
if it was a movie, that would be the good outcome.
yep,
So that's kind of how I'm pulling it for it,
yeah.
anyways.
Hey, believe it or not, Mike, I'm with you on it. I'll be pulling for
Yeah,
Ole Miss that game.
be cool.
Maybe just show Kiffin, hey, brother, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You never know what
Yeah,
you got till it's gone. Use all those cliches you want.
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Funny.
Mike, like we said, we cannot wait for that game. And there's going to be a lot of games, man. I mean,
Yeah,
especially as the season shapes up and you start seeing who's doing what and how teams are doing, and then you get a big time matchup where maybe a couple of these huge teams are undefeated going into a rivalry
yeah,
game or whatever the case is, man. This is why we love this sport. Um, so let's get into our last team here, Mike. A team that obviously terrible, terrible, terrible season last season. I
yeah,
mean, really, the sky was the limit for this team in a lot of people's eyes with their quarterback, Lenora Sellers. South Carolina, man, the Gamecocks went 4-8 last season in the regular season. I mean, it's
yeah,
another one of those situations where you couldn't have really gotten much worse than they did. They literally beat the only teams on their schedule that they probably had 100% chance of beating.
yeah,
And it is what it is. But with that being said, you know, they do have a returning quarterback in Lenora Sellers. I've
yeah,
personally been in Columbia, South Carolina, and I worked down there for about a week or so, and they talk about Lenora Sellers like he's the second coming of Christ, man. They think he's a first round draft pick. I mean, dude, I'm telling
yeah,
you right now, I witnessed it firsthand. These people
yeah.
think this
They're
guy is
sold on.
like
Yeah,
the savior of South Carolina. So believe what you want to believe. Vegas doesn't believe it though. They're going 6.5 wins, and they're taking the under on that, Mike. So 6 wins.
6 wins.
If you look at the schedule, I don't know. Is it doable? Yeah, maybe, I guess. But just glancing at it real quick, Mike, I see about 4, but I don't know. We'll have to dive into this thing, man.
Yeah,
So I'll start us off here, Mike. Week 1, obviously, Kent State, cupcake game. If they lose that game, man, it's just they might as well shut down the entire football program.
yeah,
Um, uh, and then after that, you're probably looking at 2-0 here. Tosin,
yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Second team I've not heard about, by the way. I was looking at the
Yeah.
schedule, and this has not been that. Right after I said it doesn't happen often, here's another one, dude.
Yep.
I,
See,
I,
these SEC teams are just looking up schools.
yeah,
Okay, Tosin University is in Maryland. I just
okay,
had to look that one up. At least we knew
yeah,
where the other one was.
yeah, yeah,
Arkansas had no clue about this one. So Tosin, sorry, got to get beat by South Carolina. And then right off the rip, Mike. When I look at a team like Mississippi State and I stack them up against a team like South Carolina, I'm probably going to take South Carolina every single time.
yeah,
Especially with Sellers at quarterback. So right there, that's 3 off the rip. We're halfway
yeah,
home. Probably going to go Kentucky. Around this time, Mike, you're right. Around this game, Kentucky will be switching gears and starting to focus more on basketball. So
yeah. So it's about
um,
mid-season form right there for them to
yep,
start
yep,
losing games pretty
yep.
consistently.
So, I love how Kentucky just. Dude, I guarantee you we don't have a single Kentucky subscriber. They catch strays constantly on this podcast.
I'll
And we
stop
love it.
whenever they. I'll stop when they make the playoffs. Guys,
There
don't
you go.
worry.
That's fair.
It's gonna be a while.
Which means for the duration of this podcast until Mike and I are both
Until I
gray and
retire, I'll
wrinkly.
probably either until I retire or they make the playoffs. Either one, I'll stop.
Yep. Or you see our
I'll be retirement.
podcast featured on Netflix or
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Okay. Let me sidetrack there. 4 wins. I'm already locked in there. And then the schedule gets pretty daunting for South Carolina, man. I'm not gonna lie. This is when you start creeping into SEC play, obviously.
uh,
At Florida, you're looking at Tennessee. You're looking at Oklahoma. Shoo.
it's tough. It gets real
Yeah,
tough.
yeah. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go ahead and give a dub at Arkansas.
It's fair, yeah.
And then I got one more, Mike, that I'm trying to find here. I'm leaning on 2 teams here. Um, Man, oh man, that's a rivalry. I'm gonna go ahead and just do. I'm just gonna do Florida dirty again. And I'll give you my reasoning for it real quick. Well, I'll give you my reasoning for it after you give us yours. So,
Yeah,
Kent State, Tosin, however you say it, Mississippi State, that's 3, Kentucky, Florida, and Arkansas. That's 6 wins right there.
all right.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see why Vegas had went with 6 on this.
Yep.
South Carolina's.
And
The quarterback Sellers, man, is legit, and I think that's why they're so high on him in South Carolina. And you almost kind of want to feel like there's got to be somewhat of a bounce back from last year.
right,
But
right.
but that could make South Carolina potentially dangerous, but I don't see them being anything crazy. So I think it's a safe to try to pick them 6. But because looking over it, that 6 wins kind of up in the air. Um, I'm like you. I think Kent State is a win. I'm going to say Towson just to say something different there. Let us know in the comments if you know anything about that school, how they pronounce it. So that's 2 wins. I'm sure it's a great school, but not just again, I've never heard of this school. So I'm going to say Towson. We'll go with that and see who's right on that one. So Kent State, Towson, Mississippi State. I think it's a great start to their season at 3-0. I truly think that's how that's going to go for them. Now think about that with South Carolina. Um, then I've got them beating Kentucky. Kentucky traveling to South Carolina, I just don't see that as a win for them. And that I really think that's a 4-1 start. Not to get into predicting their schedule,
Right, right.
but if you ever do, someone that's looking over that could be optimistic because if you start off that good, does that give them a little momentum? Um, but looking at these games, the rest of it, those are 4 wins there. I've got Arkansas as well, so that's a 5th win, right? And that's at Arkansas. Looking at it, like you said, you got Texas A&M, Georgia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Florida left. I feel like your 2 teams you were coming down between was obviously Florida, so you picked there. I'm gonna guess was Tennessee the other team potentially you're looking at playing at South Carolina?
Nope. My
No.
other one was at Clemson.
Oh, they got. Oh yeah, I did not even think about that. I wasn't scrolled
Yep.
down far enough to even see that's the last game.
Yep.
Never mind. That actually takes Tennessee out of it for me. By the way,
Gotcha.
sorry, I'm a Tennessee fan. You're a Tennessee fan. For people listening, sorry, Tennessee fans. But I just assumed it wasn't though Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Georgia. So that's why.
Yep.
But I didn't even see Clemson on there. Yeah, I definitely, especially after how Clemson was last year. That is a rivalry game. That is between those 2 teams,
Yep.
Clemson or Florida. Dude, based off last year, I'm gonna take Clemson.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna cut Florida a little slack on this one. And even though before I would not want Clemson in that stadium to be where I'm playing in a rivalry game, Clemson has really, it could be a disastrous season for them. Dabo being on the hot seat, I don't know. I just have a feeling, it's more of a gut thing. It was between Florida and Clemson, so I'm going to go
Yep.
Clemson. So again, I have got Kent State, Towson, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Clemson, and that's who I'm going to roll with for my 6.
Fair. Very fair, man. I mean, like you said, Clemson were what they were last year. They are what they are in recent
Yeah,
times. Um, Maybe I just gave them the nod because it's at Clemson. It's a rivalry game,
yeah.
and who knows? Yeah, nothing wrong with a little mix up here.
No,
We
no,
actually like
absolutely not.
that. Good talking points. Touching on Tennessee real quick, Mike. You almost put them in there, and I would like to say that as a Tennessee fan, we still do have that PTSD from that 2020 game,
Uh,
2022 game on the road in
That's why
South
that's in my
Carolina.
mind playing at South
Yep.
Carolina. I do think
And
Tennessee would beat South Carolina. That's a
yeah,
game that, like, if we're trying to pick
yeah,
wins, and it would have been between that. But
yeah.
yeah,
It's the PTSD, man. It's the
it is.
PTSD. That
It is.
is the last time that we played South Carolina in South Carolina. So,
Yeah,
got to go down there for some redemption this season.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe the 6 wins for South Carolina wasn't really that difficult, Mike. To be honest with you, if you
I
really
think the
just look at
five.
everything,
I think the 5 are pretty easy, but there's
yeah,
some debate
maybe
on
the
that 6th one.
yeah maybe the 6th one, like you said, is tough. Something cool and random, just a random fact. If you were paying attention, you caught it. But these 3 teams, man, and we even may have mentioned it at the beginning. I don't remember at the moment, but these 3 teams, Mike, going into this season, all have something. 3 of these 4 teams have something in common going into this season, and it's they all have their veteran quarterbacks, man.
Yeah.
That's something to be said about a team. I'm a
Mm,
firm believer of keeping a team together. You play better, your chemistry's
yeah.
high, things of that nature. So, I mean, maybe some of these teams could be sleeper teams with those veteran quarterbacks in today's college
Absolutely.
world. I mean, constantly rotating players in and out, constantly rotating coaches in and out. Having some structure to a program, even if it is just your quarterback or your head coach, it's got to stand for something, I feel like. So, just wanted to throw
Yeah,
that out there.
for sure, man. Hey, one question I do have. I think you mentioned you may be getting to it. You said you had a reason for Florida and South Carolina winning at Florida. Did I hear that right?
No. No, I don't
Okay.
remember saying.
Okay. Maybe I heard you wrong. That's probably my fault. I thought maybe. I
Well,
might have heard you wrong there.
no, I think I just gave a few reasons as to why maybe I picked Clemson as not the sixth win, and it was just
Fair.
rivalry game at
Yeah.
home,
Right.
whatever. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah,
With it coming, no, that makes sense. With it coming down between those two teams, you just felt
yeah,
like, yeah, I got you. I just want to make sure I knew, I had it
yep,
right there for you, so that was explained there. But yeah, I can see either way, man. To be honest, um,
yep,
so I think it's fair to point those two teams out when you're
yep.
looking at that. So
Well, it definitely comes down between those two teams as opposed to Georgia, Bama. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah, when you're finding these
absolutely,
wins, people, I mean, you've got to go with the most obvious. And a lot of times Florida in this
yeah,
situation, considering what they put on the field last year, like Mike said, they have unfortunately for them turned into the obvious on some of these wins.
yeah,
Um, man, this Find the Win series has been incredible so far. We've got one more episode to go
yeah,
in this 4-part series, Mike. It's been fun. Can't wait for the next one. If you're still with us, go ahead and like and subscribe, follow us, share us. We're also on TikTok as well. If you have any thoughts or opinions, please share them. I mean, we're open to debate. I know Mike gets
yeah,
on TikTok and battles with people 24/7.
yeah.
So I
Tough.
mean, we're all about it. We'd love
Yeah,
to hear your opinions, and that we just appreciate everybody. We appreciate all the subscribers so
yeah.
far. Mike, you got anything you want to share, man?
No, I think you said it, man. And keep talking to us. We do enjoy. I do get on there and TikTok, try to reply, and
Oh yeah, oh
I'll
yeah,
try. I like to argue football, so I try to make points back as well. And I feel like respectfully arguing, respectfully agreeing, however it goes. I think we
yep,
enjoy it either way. And Yeah, just help us out. We're getting close to we're right at almost 300 followers on TikTok right now, so I know we got some goals going into the season. Um, with
yep,
this football is getting ready to start up, so definitely a lot of big things I think that we're gonna have coming going forward too. Getting into football season, we'll have something really exciting to begin the football the year as well. So um, just make sure to keep following us, like, subscribe, share us with somebody. Let somebody know about us. It all
yep.
helps us out. So
All right, man. Well, Mike, been a good one, brother.
as always, man, I'll see you, Adam.
All right, take care, man.